The golden halls of the Imperial Command Center buzzed with activity. Officers moved between stations, their pale blue skin reflecting the soft glow of holographic displays. Admiral stood at the center of it all, his four arms clasped behind his back as he watched the tactical map of the outer reaches. Everything was going according to plan. The expansion into human territory was proceeding smoothly. Too smoothly, some might say. The Empire had spent 300 years conquering the galaxy. They had they had absorbed the Helix Confederation. They had brought the proud warriors to their knees. Humans were supposed to be easy. A young species, barely 2 centuries into space travel. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. That was what the intelligence reports said. Admiral smiled. In 6 standard cycles, the human colony of New Geneva would fall, then station, then Earth itself. The humans had no fleet capable of stopping them. Their main battleships were all stationed near their home system, protecting their precious blue planet. The outer reaches were defenseless. A junior officer named approached the admiral. His voice was calm, professional. "Sir, the 7th Fleet reports they are in position. The invasion of New Geneva will begin at dawn." Nodded. "Excellent. Tell Commander to proceed. I want minimal destruction. The humans will make good workers in our mining operations." Bowed and turned to relay the message. But before he could take 3 steps, an alarm screamed through the command center. Red lights flashed. Officers froze at their stations. The main display flickered and changed, showing a section of space near the 7th Fleet's position. "What is happening?" demanded. A sensor technician's hands trembled as she worked her console. "Sir, we are detecting a massive energy signature. Something just dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of the 7th Fleet." "One of ours?" "No, sir. The signature does not match any vessel in our database." Felt a cold sensation in his chest. He walked toward the display, his eyes narrowing. "Show me." The image zoomed in. At first, there was nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then the technician enhanced the visual feed and saw it. His heart stopped beating for a full second. It was a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. The vessel was massive, easily 5 times the size of a dreadnought. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in strange angular patterns that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapon ports lined its sides like the teeth of some ancient predator, and on its bow, painted in bold white letters, were 2 words that made every officer in the command center go silent. "TSS Prometheus." "That is a human ship," whispered. Shook his head. "Impossible. Human battleships cannot operate this far from their supply lines. Their engines are too slow. Their fuel capacity is too limited. This must be a trick, a hologram, some kind of deception." But even as he spoke, the sensor readings told a different story. The ship was real. It was there, and it was powering up weapons that the Empire had never seen before. Commander of the 7th Fleet appeared on a communication screen. His face was pale, his eyes wide with something had never seen in him before: fear. "Admiral, we are detecting the human vessel. It appeared without warning. No hyperspace tunnel, no energy buildup. It was simply not there, and then it was. How is this possible?" Had no answer. According to everything they knew about human technology, this was impossible. Human hyperspace drives were loud. They created detectable signatures hours before arrival. A ship could not simply appear from nowhere. "Hail them," ordered. "Demand they identify themselves and explain their presence in space." The communication officer sent the message. For 30 long seconds there was silence. Then a response came through. A human face appeared on the main display. It was a female with dark skin and short gray hair. Her eyes were calm, almost bored. She wore a uniform that did not recognize, black with silver markings on the shoulders. "This is Captain of the Terran spaceship Prometheus," she said. Her voice was steady, unhurried. "You are in violation of the Sol Accords. You have entered space claimed by the Terran Republic and have made hostile movements toward protected human colonies. You have one chance to withdraw your fleet and return to territory. There will be no second warning. Almost laughed, one ship demanding that the entire 7th Fleet retreat. The 7th Fleet had 40 warships. 40. Even if this human vessel was large, it was still just one ship. Human said, stepping forward, you are confused. This is space now. Your colonies belong to the Empire, and your single ship, however impressive it may appear, cannot stand against our might. Surrender and we will show mercy. Captain did not react. She did not smile. She did not frown. She simply tilted her head slightly, as if considering something mildly interesting. Very well, she said. You have made your choice. The transmission ended. All ships, battle formation, Commander shouted over the fleet channel. Target that vessel and prepare to fire on my command. The 40 ships of the 7th Fleet moved into position, energy weapons charged, missile bays opened, shields powered up to maximum, watched with satisfaction. The human captain had made a terrible mistake. She would pay for her arrogance. Fire commanded. The 7th Fleet unleashed everything. Plasma bolts streaked through space, missiles launched by the hundreds, energy beams converged on the Prometheus from all directions. It was the most concentrated attack the 7th Fleet had ever performed. Nothing could survive it. Nothing. The attacks hit the Prometheus. And nothing happened. Blinked, he leaned closer to the display. The human ship sat there, unmoved, undamaged. The plasma bolts had splashed against some kind of invisible barrier. The missiles had detonated harmlessly. The energy beams had been absorbed without effect. That is not possible, the sensor technician said, her voice breaking. Our weapons should have destroyed that ship 10 times over, but its shields, we are not even registering damage. Before anyone could respond, the Prometheus moved. It did not move like any ship had ever seen. There was no slow acceleration, no buildup of thrust. It simply shifted position, appearing directly in the center of the 7th Fleet as if space itself had bent to carry it there. Then it fired. Lines of brilliant blue light shot from the Prometheus in all directions. They moved so fast that could barely track them. Each beam hit a ship. Each ship hit by a beam simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no debris. The vessels were there and then they were not. In 6 seconds, 20 ships vanished. Commander was screaming on the communication channel. Retreat! All ships retreat! Emergency hyperspace jump now! The surviving ships tried to flee. Their hyperspace drives spun up. Energy signatures built. But before any of them could escape, the Prometheus fired again. More blue lights. More ships disappearing into nothing. The 7th Fleet, the pride of the Empire, was being erased from existence. In the command center, officers were in chaos. Some were crying. Others were praying to gods that had thought were forgotten. The sensor technician had collapsed at her station, overwhelmed by what she was witnessing. Admiral said, his voice a whisper. The 7th Fleet is gone, all 40 ships, destroyed in less than 1 minute. Could not speak. He could only stare at the display, where the Prometheus now sat alone in empty space. No debris, no survivors, no evidence that the 7th Fleet had ever existed except for the empty positions on his tactical map. The communication screen flickered. Captain appeared again. Her expression had not changed. She looked exactly as calm as before. Admiral, she said, I know you are watching. The Prometheus is the smallest ship in the Terran Deep Space Fleet. There are 40 more like it and 12 that are larger. You have 3 standard cycles to remove all forces from human space. If you do not comply, we will come to you. She paused, and for the first time something changed in her eyes, a coldness that made feel small. You thought we were weak because we did not expand like you. You thought we were primitive because we did not conquer. You were wrong. We did not fight because we chose peace. but you have reminded us why we built these ships. You have reminded us what we can do when peace is no longer an option." The transmission ended. For a long moment the command center was silent, then spoke, his voice hollow. "Contact the Emperor. Tell him to prepare an emergency session of the High Council. Tell him—" He stopped, struggling to find words. "Tell him that everything we believed about humans was wrong." Nodded and hurried away. Stood alone, staring at the tactical map. The empty space where the Seventh Fleet had been seemed to grow larger, darker, more threatening with each passing second. He thought about the human colonies they had planned to conquer. He thought about the mining operations. He thought about how easy it was supposed to be. The humans had been watching. They had been waiting. They had let the Empire believe they were weak, let them grow confident, let them make the first move. And now, with a single ship that should not exist, they had destroyed everything. Did not know much about humans, but he knew one thing now. The Empire had made a terrible mistake, and unless they acted quickly, unless they retreated and begged for forgiveness, that mistake would be the end of them. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the Prometheus waited. It was patient. It had nowhere else to be. After all, it was not supposed to be here in the first place. But that was the thing about humans that the galaxy was only now beginning to understand. Humans had a way of showing up exactly where they were not supposed to be, and when they did, empires fell. The golden halls of the Imperial Command Center had never felt so cold. The expansion was over. The war, if it could even be called that, had ended before it truly began. And in the silent void between stars, a species that everyone had underestimated was finally showing its true face. The face was not angry, it was not vengeful, it was simply tired of being treated as prey. And that, Admiral realized, was the most terrifying thing of all.